What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you have experienced? Not sure if this counts as glitch in the Matrix, but when I was young, I was sitting watching TV when I heard a few loud bangs, as if someone fell down the stairs. I ran out to see, but there was nothing there. Just as I went back to sit down, my brother fell down the stairs. I used to have a pet turtle when I was younger. One morning I woke up and was walking to my kitchen when there was my turtle crawling on the floor. I picked him up and looked in his aquarium and my turtle was still there. My parents didn't buy me another turtle and we have no idea where it came from. I think I was involved with this. I couldn't think of any glitches until I read this. We used to have little turtles when I was little, and one day I was wrestling with my sister in the kitchen and we rolled onto one and killed it. We immediately ran to get my mom, but when we dragged her in there, it was gone. Only 3 of the 4 turtles were left, so one had to have gotten out, but we didn't have any other siblings or animals that could have moved it, and it was definitely dead. It must have died there and poofed up alive in your kitchen. I was trying to sleep late at night and the t-shirt that I was wearing was getting itchy. So I took my shirt off while still in bed and threw it from the top bunk of my bunk bed. I heard it drop to the floor, but I kept on hearing it drop to the ground over and over again, and this went on for a while. I was wide awake and I knew I wasn't hearing shit. Still confused about it, but I never seemed to mention it till today. Edit. This is getting out of hand. Took off my glasses because something made me laugh so hard I cried. Went to bathroom, washed face, came back, glasses gone. 2 weeks pass, I have new glasses. Got home from a friend's house, take off shoes. Call from friend less than 5 minutes later, forgot something at his house. Go to put on shoes. Missing glasses folded perfectly, sitting on top of my shoes, so calculatedly evenly split between both shoes it looked like an art display. Edit. The friend never entered my house. Several years ago I stopped to get gas on my way to meeting my GF at the time for dinner. This was a little before smartphones starting coming out, so all I had was a silver flip phone. Getting out of the car I managed to drop it on the ground and then kick it right as a car drove by. It was run over and shot out from under the car's tire across the gas station lot. I found it all scratched up. It wasn't smashed, but wouldn't turn on. I spent most of the dinner annoyed because I was semi-broke and didn't want to have to pay for a new phone. When we got back to our apartment, the first thing I saw walking in was my silver flip phone sitting on the kitchen counter. Somehow I managed to hallucinate dropping and then kicking my phone, watch it get shot across the lot, and then finding an exact duplicate of it. The antenna on the top even had the same bite marks from where my cat had tried to eat it. Or else my phone spontaneously cloned and teleported itself onto my kitchen counter. Every morning on my way to work I'd go through a shopping mall. On a bench in the mall there would sit an elderly man appearing to wait for someone. The guy was fairly anonymous, but always had some small flair that made him look like he was trying to be hip, but not really making it. A golfer's cap, a vest, logger boots, etc. Every morning when I walked by I noticed him and always wondered who he was waiting for. For 4 years as I walked by I never saw him actually meeting someone. I get a new job and start work in another part of town. 3 days in, when I walk from the subway towards work, the same guy is sitting on a bench waiting for someone. Edit. Wow. My by far most upvoted comment. And on my birthday, I suppose I will have to walk up and talk to the guy now, and just by that guarantee the dude is gone forever. I share my name with my great-grandfather on my father's side. I never met him. He died 20 years before I was born. He was apparently 6 feet tall, eccentric, obsessed with intellectual pursuits, but was so prone to getting lost in thought that he would forget to do important things. The rest of the entire family is fairly short. My father is otherwise the tallest at 5 feet 8, very straight-laced conservative blue collar. Then there's me, apparently the second coming of my great-grandfather, height, tendencies, personality, general appearance and all. A week before I got married, my brother was going through old records and discovered my great-grandfather's wife, who no living family member ever met. She died young in the 1930s, had the same name as mine, my wife's. Am I just reused content? I was 12. Was spending the day at an amusement park with a neighbor and one of his classmates. I'd never met the classmate before, but he was a cool guy and we are all chilling, going on roller coasters, spending money on the stupid ring toss game, and not winning anything. And then we are going to go grab food, and he was about to go grab some chocolate bar and I went, dude, you're allergic to peanuts. Because he was about to eat something with peanuts in it. I'd never met the guy before. My friend never talked about him before, but not only did I have the feeling that this guy was allergic to peanuts, I turned out to be accurate. He was like, damn, how did you know? And we agreed that there was no real explanation. Life is just weird sometimes, and went back to riding roller coasters. Never saw that guy again. I once threw a light bulb into an empty trash bin from a few feet away, but I didn't hear it land at the bottom of the bin. I immediately decided to pick it up, to take note of what type of bulb that was, so I could replace it. But it was gone. Totally disappeared. My roommate witnessed this too, and we never found it, even as we were moving out at the end of the semester. Once I was playing foosball with a few friends in the rec room of our high school. We were getting more and more animated and rowdy, spinning the handles, and flailing around and generally being silly teenage guys. When the commotion died down we saw that there was a light bulb rolling around on the foosball table. The ball was gone. All the room's light bulbs were still in their sockets and we never found the ball. So clearly the universe was simply obeying the law of conservation of light bulbs. When I was about 15 I remember having a dream but all it was black and talking. I remember hearing my mom saying it's almost done, you're doing great, it's gone. But I didn't think anything of it. About 3 months later my earrings got embedded inside my ears and I had to go to hospital to get them cut out. While there they sprayed freeze spray onto my ear. The spray went into my ear and obviously touched my eardrum, knocking me out, but I could still hear things. While out all I saw was black and my mom said the exact same things to me that I heard in my dream the few months before. No one believes me, but it was crazy. Edit. Wow, thanks for so many replies and upvotes. I didn't think my story would be so interesting. I occasionally get flashes or visions of things that happen again later. Recently, having a specific conversation at work. This was not a normal or routine conversation like, did we get any mail? It was an unusual circumstance that lead up to it, so I knew how it was going to go down. And it did exactly that way. On the creepy end of the spectrum, I saw myself at a friend's funeral while he was still alive. He died unexpectedly a few weeks later. I knew that a client of mine would die within a year and he did. At the time he appeared perfectly healthy, but within the year he was diagnosed with cancer and passed away. I know that one cloudy morning, I will get the call in my car that my stepfather has passed away. He is in his 70s and suffers Parkinson's, so this one isn't that paranormal, I don't think. The creepiest one has yet to be fulfilled, and that is an image I have of a blue pickup truck on the wrong side of the road coming straight at me. If I do die in a car crash, and it's with a blue pickup, can someone please post it, so I get posthumous karma? Sat down with food on a stick, closed my eyes. Opened them 3 hours later, still at my PC, food entirely missing. I guess I blacked out, but I have no idea why I would do that. Edit. Well, this blew up, so chances are it was an absence seizure, and the dog really did eat my food. Would explain why the stick was missing too. Edit 2. This happened about 8 years ago, so I doubt it's anything serious. Or aliens. As a kid, like at a really young age, I used to have incredibly realistic dreams of things that hadn't happened yet. To clarify, I had weird dreams of completely mundane things generally, and then they would happen shortly after, usually within a couple days. For this reason, it became hard to differentiate between dream and reality. As a result, I spent years believing my brother had stabbed me in the back with a butter knife. But it, from what my parents tell me, never happened. I guess it was just one of the dreams. It's so weird though, because it was just so real. The memory of being stabbed is stronger than most memories, and every so often, this spot on my back, right where I had dreamed I was stabbed, well, it tingles. I watched a little boy run up and kick a soccer ball. Then everything stopped for the slightest of milliseconds, and I watched him run up and kick the ball again. I saw the exact same moment happen twice. It was like time skipped like a needle on a record, but I was unaffected. I didn't move, but I wasn't frozen, and then replayed like everyone else. I was an observer with full control over my body. I've never experienced anything similar ever again. It was so clear. I still have the frozen moment in my mind perfectly. I started panicking immediately after it happened to anyone near me. I had to sit down. It felt so incredibly real. Even if it was just a hallucination. What did everyone do for that second? There were no other glitches, no clicks forward. So I had an extra second that nobody else did. I watched one moment twice. Am I a second older than the rest of the world? Did I travel back 1 second in time? Did something unimaginable happen to me in an alternate universe? Did I have a mini stroke? Who knows? I don't know if this can be classified as a glitch, and I have a feeling this might be common for a few other people, but here goes. Since I was young, off and on, I've experienced what is apparently called depersonalization. The very first time I was young, probably 6 or 7 years old, I remember clearly it was a very sunny day, and I was walking somewhere holding my mother's hand. It was the first time I'd been allowed to wear sandals instead of shoes. Where I live there was a lot of broken glass on the pavements. We were waiting to cross a road and it happened. This sense of complete alienation from myself. I was not me. This body wasn't mine. I was just occupying it, and I was something more. It was a very strange experience. It's happened probably 2 or 3 times since then. Just a feeling that I'm unfamiliar with my own self, a stranger. It's also happened once with my brother, who I'm very close to. That day I looked at him, and a feeling of who is this? Just a strange person who I call my brother. It lasts just a few seconds, and is quite eerie. It's the familiarity you have about yourself and others. I suppose the attachment disappears for a few seconds. Would be very interested to see if anyone else has experienced this. More commonly I think it happens with words. It loses its meaning and appears strange or foreign, which I've also experienced. Edit. Seems like a common brain glitch. Interesting how no one really questions it. When I was 10, I was homeless-ish and lived in an 8-foot camper. My bedroom was the top bunk thing. I'm laying there and my jeans were annoying me as they were next to my head, so I flung them towards my feet. They flew back at me immediately and went back where they were originally. This happened 2 times in a row. I have no idea why they would move on their own. This still creeps me out. Edit. This story does not work very well in text format. One night, when I was about 18, I guess I was out for a drink with a friend. Just had 1 or 2 beers, not much. I went back home, and I felt all seep pretty quickly watching Skins, lights on. Around 2 or 3 AM I woke up in a heartbeat, like if I just had a nightmare, but not remembering anything about that. I notice the lights are on and a second after, all my room goes dark. I feel pretty stressed out at this point, so I get out of my bed to put the lights on again, wondering how this happened. At this moment I start to feel a pain in my hand, and when I finally put the lights on, I take a look, and I'm seriously bleeding from my hand. No idea how that happened again. Went out of the house, smoked a cig, and went back to sleep. Never had any explanation. I used to live and work at Ayers Rock. I had been struggling with depression for quite a while, and one day as I was crossing some sand dunes with groceries, I began to feel like I'd had enough. I wanted out, and I figured I'd do it when I got home. It was at this point that I noticed something pretty big coming towards me. I looked up to see what it was, but didn't see or hear anything unusual. Nevertheless, I sensed that whatever it was expanded even larger and larger as it grew nearer, and I felt my whole body begin to vibrate. It was like being in a really heavy storm or something, because this thing was immense and powerful. At first I thought I was in the way and was going to be annihilated, but somehow realized that this whatever it was going to pass me. I then had an extremely strong feeling that it had noticed me and briefly glanced in my direction. A feeling of overwhelming love and compassion, with a hint of teasing humor, like I was some silly little kid, washed over me, and a word boomed in my head. Breathe. So I did. I breathed in as deep as I could and felt months and months of sadness and loneliness and self-loathing simply and immediately replaced with a pure feeling of joy. I was weightless. I was happy. Nothing else mattered. And as I stood there, the whatever it was strode past me on its way to something I somehow knew was really important, leaving me with tears streaming down my face and all my groceries spilled in the sand. Many years ago, I woke up after what was easily the most vivid and detailed dream I'd ever had. In this dream, my life had simply gone on and on. I got married, moved, changed jobs, had a house, kids, etc. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then suddenly, I woke up, and I was back in my small Boston apartment lying next to my girlfriend, and it was like a large part of my life had never happened. The closest way I can describe it would be the feeling you get if you woke up one morning and found yourself wherever you were 15 or 20 years ago. Everyone you'd ever met in those years never existed. Every life achievement you'd had was a lie. Every memory was false and your entire life had been instantly rewound back to a random moment many years in your past. I was so shocked and traumatized by this that I remember waking up and sobbing uncontrollably for hours, like I was grieving for the death of all of my family, which in a way I was. The unexplainably bizarre part to me was how mundane the dream was. Nothing dreamlike or surreal happened. It felt absolutely like real life. The only difference was the time scale. In this dream the time elapsed was easily at least 15 or 20 years. To this day, I can still recall bits and pieces of the dream, including vague memories of my family's face, and I can start to feel like crying again. And sometimes I can also start to get emotional at the thought that someday I may not remember anything of the dream and all of those people and life memories will be gone forever. I'd never had anything like that happen before, nor since. But it's still one of the most deeply scarring events that's ever happened to me, and one that I have yet to explain or understand. I borrowed a pair of Apple earbuds from one of my friends. I usually keep earbuds in my pockets, and one day, after being home all day, I pulled a second pair of identical headphones out of my pocket. It has happened twice now. I have two pairs of Apple earbuds and I gave the other pair back to my friend. I would assume I just grabbed another pair by mistake, but I don't get out much and no one in my family owns any Apple products. Turned the washing machine's dial from end to start. Turned around, picked up the detergent, turned back around, and the dial was sitting at end. Not sure if glitch in the matrix or early onset dementia. This happened 25 years ago, but I remember it so clearly. We would always wake my dad up by going in and jumping on the bed on weekends. He worked a lot and was gone when we woke up most mornings and home after we went to bed. So weekends were the only time we really saw him. So anyway, my brother and I, are about 6 and 7 at the time, and we go in one weekend and wake him up, jump on the bed a bit, just being kids, and start talking to dad. Tap, tap, tap. What was that? I'm tapping on the window, says dad, who was lying in bed on his back, about 8 feet from the window, in the upstairs bedroom. Tap, tap, tap. Dad, what is that? I'm tapping the window. Here, watch. So he puts his arm behind the pillow and shakes it around a bit. A hand appeared outside the window, as if someone was crouching down and just reached up. Tap, tap, tap. I looked at dad, and he just laughed. I couldn't comprehend it at the time. I still have no idea now if it's something I just wanted to see, and my mind thought it was there, or what. But I've never forgotten it. Was out to dinner with my BF at the time in a very crowded, very loud Thai restaurant about 9 years ago. We were practically yelling at each other across the table, trying to maintain a conversation over the hustle and bustle. Then out of nowhere, all the noise stops completely, all at once. I stopped talking mid-sentence because I realized I was yelling in a silent room. Every hair on my body stood on end. Everyone around us was silent and still. The kitchen sounded motionless. Everything was absolutely quiet for maybe about 2 minutes. Then, as quickly as the silence fell, the restaurant came back to life. Never happened again. I was in the living room with one of my dogs and she started acting really strange, like she does when she needs to throw up. So I opened the back door and let her outside and went to go tell my nan, the only other person home. I went back to the door and she came back in but then left again. My nan told me to shut the door, but I told her the dog was still outside. My nan said that she had the dog, but I told her I had just seen the dog go outside. So I shut the door and went to see, and she was sitting by the bed with my nan.